What's that? The creak of branches, the whistle of the wind, the strange silhouetted shapes in the tree line that you can't help thinking are alive and watching you. The woods can be a very scary place indeed, and today we're going to prove it. Stick around as we delve into the undergrowth, witnessing demonic dolls, belligerent beasts, and things which seem to evade earthly explanation altogether. Join me, if you dare, as we explore the terrifying things people found in the woods. Humanoids of the woods. Imagine you're meandering through the woods one sunny day, taking in all of nature's sights and sounds, when out of the corner of your eye, you see something that gives you goosebumps. It seems humanoid, but as you look closer, it almost disappears. Almost. But you can still see the outline of a person, their body bizarrely filled with the warped reflection of the woods. It'd make your blood run cold, right? Well, an encounter just like this took place for anyone who caught a glimpse of these otherworldly-looking beings spotted in a Scotland forest. And while you may be left scratching your head wondering what these elusive apparitions are, you can relax. They're merely cleverly designed sculptures by the Scottish sculptor Rob Mulholland, designed back in 2012 as an homage to all the souls who've roamed these woods since ancient times. The silhouettes are made from polished stainless steel, allowing them to reflect light and blend into their surroundings, leaving behind a spooky specter that is certain to give any forest wanderer the heebie-jeebies. But if that didn't spook you, check out this sculpture from Wisconsin's Stevens Point Sculpture Park. Sure, it's just a sculpture, you might say. But imagine seeing the silhouette of this centaur-like, stag-headed creature in the tree line, emerging from the water while it's dark out. Yeah, nope. Rest assured, if such creatures did exist, humanity would undoubtedly be doomed. But beyond dedicated sculpture parks, you can still spot some pretty scary sculptures out in the wilderness. Take Kielder Forest in the UK as an example. Throughout this wood, everything is pretty normal. Everything, that is, except for the enormous, creepy head just casually lying there. Its official name is Silvus capitalis, meaning forest head. Pretty accurate. But what exactly is it? Some kind of ancient cursed monolith? Well, not quite. It's actually a sculpture that was designed by an American group of artists known as Simparch to represent the concept of a watcher, a single entity that has seen the comings and goings of the surrounding nature throughout the ages. And it's not only symbolic, but functional too, as visitors can even climb up inside the head and view the landscape through the eyes of Silvus capitalis. Now, that's all well and good, but imagine strolling through the woods unequipped with the knowledge of what the heck this thing really is, and being confronted with this big-ass, wide-mouthed head. Quite frightening and surreal, to say the least. More importantly, though, does anyone else think the head's design seems a little derivative of my own? You'll be hearing from my lawyers, Silvus capitalis. Don't pull that face at me. Of all the scary sculptures, though, this next one is arguably the most disturbing. Back in 2022, Macedonio Perez, a water well driller from Washington, was working on a site that had been abandoned for several decades. However, as he got to work, he made a chilling discovery. What he initially assumed to be a tree or rock of some sort turned out to be the rotting, moss-covered form of what looked to be a wedding dress, only it was standing up on its own. Not only that, but the skirt's front was torn open and filled with candles, a toaster, hair curlers, and most bizarrely of all, flowers that Macedonio claimed looked fresh. On closer inspection, he concluded it was some kind of strange statue, once intricately carved to resemble a bride, now missing most of its base, alongside its head, and, even stranger still, surrounded with barbed wire. The creepiest part is that there's been no update or confirmation of what the statue was doing there, who made it, or why. and perhaps it's for the best. Equally creepy is this clothed, plastic-wrapped mannequin topped with a dog mask that was shared on Reddit with minimal context. What could those tally marks mean? Teenage prank or something much darker? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Who goes there? Being in the woods, it's pretty easy to feel vulnerable. The crunch of a leaf or the rustle of a bush can be enough to trigger instinctual panic, let alone the sight of a menacing figure like TikToker Terrence inadvertently captured on video. Terrence was out in the woods practicing overtone singing when the primal tones of his voice caught the attention of a deer. However, when he fawned over the deer, he managed to unintentionally capture a pair of mysterious dark figures lurking in the background. Check it out. Did you see it? Yep, right there. Chilling, huh? Terrence states he didn't notice the figures until reviewing the footage, and his TikTok was inundated with comments from freaked out people. While some suggested it was simply a pair of woodland hikers, others are convinced that Terrence summoned a Bigfoot or two with his primal singing. Who or what exactly was loitering around that day, we may never know. But if that didn't give you the fear of something sinister lurking in the woods, then get a load of this sign someone spotted leading to an ominous trail in the woods. Thoughtful of whoever made this to give a heads up to the risk of getting dragged down into the underworld by demons up ahead. Likewise, check out this foreboding door one Imager user found locked tight in the woods, scuffed with haunting handprints. Nightmarish to even contemplate what may lie beyond. A secret underground bunker, an alien laboratory, Tupac, Michael Jackson, and Princess Diana. Worse yet, just imagine discovering this trail of wet footprints on your porch in the middle of the night. The Redditor who shared this pic explained how she spotted these bare footprints while turning out her porch light for the night. Her house backs onto a state forest, and the scariest part is that the prints don't lead back away from the house. No one was ever found inside the house nor outside, but in a way, the mystery is even creepier. An even more sinister mystery was shared by Redditor Mr. Witch, who was hiking through a remote woodland surrounded by an abandoned town when he encountered something truly bizarre. Assuming himself to be completely isolated, he was shocked to cross paths with an old man who sat in a tree wearing blue satin pajamas. As he edged closer, he noticed how the old man was barefoot, but seemingly well-groomed. But he could also be heard laughing to himself. Not manic cackling, just mild, continuous giggles. The Redditor walked on by, giving the old man a friendly nod, though the only response was continued laughter. Then, just as he passed, the laughing suddenly stopped. Mr. Witch turned back, and what he saw left his mouth agape. The old-timer had disappeared without a trace. He never reappeared, nor was there any sign of a rapid escape. Who exactly the Redditor saw on that day remains a mystery. Though if you ask me, it sounds like he'd licked a few too many toads out in the woods. Stalked by beasts. Now you could spend all day worrying about ghosts, ghouls, and other mythical spooks you might encounter in the woods, but never forget, there are very real threats lurking right beneath your nose in the wilderness. I am, of course, talking about animals. Now, don't get me wrong, woodland animals can be absolutely beautiful, but they can also be deadly, not to mention horrifying. Just check out what happened when Trevor Rasmussen went on a hike in Montana.
He's probably like 50 feet away from me. Standing right at me. I barely saw him. No! Hey! 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 Back up! Hey! 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 Never seen a mountain lion out in the wild before. Oh man. There he is. He's checking me out. Good kitty. Good kitty. Whew. Hey, bud. Whew. Oh, geez. Okay, not gonna lie, that scared me because he was right on that trail and he was crouched down. I saw this little furry thing right there. And he looked like he was in like stalk mode. And then when he got up and like yawned, because he's not afraid of me, he couldn't care less. I smell bad. Maybe they like it. They're cats. They're kind of jerks. Woo! That was awesome.
I mean, for someone who's just been no more than 50 feet away from a mountain lion, Trevor seems in pretty good spirits. That being said, while mountain lions are the largest felines in North America and capable of killing creatures much larger than themselves, attacks on humans are relatively rare. There have only been around 25 fatal cougar attacks on humans in the past century. Still, rare run-ins with them can be absolutely terrifying, as can be seen here when seasoned Arizona hiker Tiffany Foster spotted a mountain lion prowling around her camp.
The way those deer were acting. I may have to spray this cat in a second. Hey! 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 Bad cat. Get! Hey! Get! Hey! Get! Get!
Thankfully, Tiffany had her own ferocious growl to rely on, so she got away scot-free. But even Tiffany's roar is nothing compared to the raucous noises mountain lions are capable of. Take a listen to one of, if not the most, scariest thing you can hear out in the woods. All right, kitty, I get the message. But mountain lions aren't the only cats of the North American continent with something scary to say. Haha, that right there is a lynx, and its screams sound kind of like the noise emitted by a Karen whose "let me speak to the manager" request has been rejected. Nothing scarier than that. But all jokes aside, I've got another audio clip to show you, and this one genuinely freaked me out. Take a listen to this, captured by a deer hunter in the woods. Can you freaking imagine hearing that in the dead of night? I'd never sleep again. While the screams do sound remarkably human, some online commenters have suggested we may be hearing the calls of another lynx. For my own sanity, I'm going to choose to believe they're right. and that we're not hearing a skinwalker, wendigo, goatman, chupacabra, skunk ape, snallygaster, or other assorted horrific cryptid. Similarly, take a look at this clip captured by one Redditor who lives right near the woods and overheard some rather unsettling noises during the night. I'll have what she's having, but seriously, what exactly were those noises? Well, as any city dwellers watching may know, they were merely fox noises. Noises like those could be a fox attempting to attract a mate, mark its territory, or even warn other foxes that predators, such as wolves, are nearby. And in all honesty, if a wolf is stalking me, I'd probably let out a similar noise too. Speaking of being under attack, when one Alberta man was strolling through the woods at night, he found himself on the wrong side of a bull moose's temper. So much so, in fact, he was forced to hide up in a tree while the belligerent moose patrolled the ground. Check it out.
He just ran me up a tree. Get.
In the state of Alaska alone, around 10 people are injured annually by moose, which is about the same as the annual number of grizzly bear and black bear attacks in the USA combined. So, if you do happen to come across a moose in the woods, especially a bull moose in heat, or a mama protecting her calf, it's probably in your best interest to scurry up the nearest tree. Though there's one thing that might give you a bit of an edge against the fearsome woodland beasts we've seen today. What you see before you is an equal parts awesome and terrifying set of Russian bear hunting armor from the 1800s. This iron nail-studded leather suit automatically makes you outrank the bear as the scariest thing in the woods, and was reportedly designed to make the hunter as painful to nibble on as possible. Seems pretty effective to me. Come to think of it, I once found some similar skin-tight leather suits in my mom and dad's closet, though I don't think either of them was into bear hunting. Huh. Weird. The Devil's Playthings. There are many tropes in the horror movie genre. The haunted house, the creaking doors, and perhaps one of the oldest in the book, creepy children's toys. And while these flicks are, of course, merely works of fiction, there's no denying just how unnerving old children's toys can be, particularly when they're found lurking in the woods. I mean, just put yourself in this guy's shoes, who, when trekking through the woods, suddenly found himself surrounded by an entourage of tattered old toys fastened to the trees. The reason these stuffed toys met such an eerie fate remains a cold case. But if you're optimistic, you might theorize it could be an attempt to bring a little childlike joy to the woods. If you're more cynical, though, you may be inclined to believe it's the work of some evil soul attempting to lure children deep into the woods to come and play forever. Looks like this baby doll met a similar fate, with terrifying and surreal consequences. These warring factions of dolls must really want to send a message to their enemies. In all seriousness, the people who found this had no idea who would do such a thing, nor why. But I know I'll be having nightmares about this long-necked menace for weeks now. Moving on though, and much like the opening sequence of your average low-budget horror movie, when three teenage pals were out strolling in the woods, they discovered a body. No, but not a real body, no. Strewn out amongst the wilted leaves was a life-sized, limp-bodied doll dressed in rags. And while I, for one, would have left this demonic-looking doll to rest in peace, these guys decided to take the old bird for a spin.
Stockings down, pump, pump, and all that jazz. Come on, we're gonna party. I got some aspirin down at United Trust.
Drop kick it! You tried. Cass, what's the chances of us getting murdered by a ghost?
Alright. I think we're good, guys.
Last I heard, demonic dolls aren't normally huge fans of show tunes.
Down at United Trust.
Or being drop-kicked, for that matter. Safe to assume that the folks in the video clip are now eternally haunted by some vengeful demon, and that a terrible curse will befall the next 5 generations of their descendants. But I'm afraid that's simply what you call supernatural selection. But of all the spine-tingling woodland toy encounters, this next one is perhaps the most cursed. In a Canadian wood, a hunter was following a deer trail when he crossed paths with an ominous, black-cloaked figure standing in the distance among the trees. Frightened, yet equally curious, the hunter approached with trepidation, though what he found in the vicinity and later beneath the cloak itself was truly chilling. Take a look. Looks like Barbie is working a new look and lifestyle since the release of her movie. All jokes aside, the creator of this cursed Franken-doll scarecrow, alongside the admittedly impressive log hut, is unknown. Though legend has it that if you turn out the lights in your bathroom, look in the mirror and say, "Come on Barbie, let's go party," she'll appear. But you let me know down in the comments if it works, because I ain't trying myself. Paranormal activity. It's impossible to know when exactly humans began spinning tales of ghosts and ghouls. Still, some experts believe the earliest known depiction of the paranormal dates back 3,500 years ago to ancient Babylon, with this tablet depicting a ghost being led into the afterlife. And whether you believe in ghosts or merely put it down to the imagination, the woods provide the perfect backdrop to many tales of a supernatural encounter. What's more, people leaving trail cameras in the woods means we get to see a lot of the wonderful and weird goings-on of the forest, including some things that may seem to defy explanation. For instance, back in 2017, locals of Cambridge, New York were spooked after the release of this image taken by a trail camera in the woods. Believing it to be the ghostly spirit of a deceased little girl, residents even went so far to conjure up a narrative, claiming that she had passed away after being hit by a train that used to run through that neck of the wood. It was certainly an exciting time to be a believer, though the real truth was eventually revealed. The area police force shared the image on social media as they were concerned, not that it might be a ghost, but that it might be a missing child. But when a local man saw the pic, he revealed that the alleged missing/ghost girl was actually, in fact, his granddaughter, who he'd been walking the woods with around the time the image was snapped. But wait, his granddaughter disappeared many years prior. Nah, just kidding. Or am I? Moving on, if you take a trip over to Oxfordshire's Wychwood Forest in the UK, then you're sure to encounter a ghost or two, at least according to local legend. Many visitors claim to have experienced spooky apparitions, like skin-crawling sensation of being touched by unseen specters, and the ghostly forms of giggling children scampering among the shady tree line. But it's also the site of the area's most prolific ghost story. That is, the ghost of Amy Robsart. Who is Amy Robsart, you ask? Well, as the wife of Robert Dudley, the Earl of Leicester, she was a socially high-ranking woman during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I in the 16th century. However, it just so happened that Amy's husband, Robert, was also a personal favorite of the Queen. So much so, some historians believe the pair were romantically involved. And after Amy mysteriously died from falling down the stairs, suspicion grew as to whether Robert had orchestrated her demise so that he may pursue a relationship with the Queen. Evidence of this malicious intent is unsubstantiated, and many historians believe it to be false, though many acknowledge that Robert was almost certainly interested in marrying the Queen, although it never came to pass. That said, local legend has it that the guilt-ridden Robert encountered Amy's ghost one day whilst hunting in Wychwood Forest. The specter reportedly told him he would die within the next 10 days, which he did. To this day, people regularly claim to encounter the ghostly visage of Amy Robsart in the forest, while others report strange noises and objects being thrown without apparent cause on the grounds of Oxford's Worcester College, where her body was stored before her funeral. While strange noises and hijinks on college grounds are pretty likely to be the work of mischievous students, if you ever spy a woman in the Wychwoods with a penchant for old-timey outfits, steer clear. Unless you want to deal with the 16th century version of the 7 days phone call from the Ring.
7 days.
The things in the trees. In fairy tales and mythology, humanoid trees have often been used as characters with sources of earthly wisdom. Just take Treebeard from Lord of the Rings or Grandmother Willow from Pocahontas as examples. And while we generally accept that these humanoid trees are purely fictional, it turns out such creatures may actually exist. I mean, just get a load of this terrifying tree discovered by a TikToker. Truly the stuff of nightmares, right? But as scary as those split ends might be, we can at least take solace in the fact that, thankfully, this isn't real. As you can see, the tree-textured artificial head, not to mention clip-in hair extensions, have been attached onto the tree. Though I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't be petrified crossing paths with this tree-dwelling demon. The twisted artist behind this build is just a little too skilled for my liking. Similarly, check out this sinister little sapling found inhabiting a wood near Harper's Ferry in West Virginia, which almost looks like Grandmother Willow's mini evil twin. It looks to have been carved into the tree by hand and covered in a few splatches of paint a long time ago, with the flaky white paint only adding to the sheer weirdness of it. But the person behind this creation remains a mystery. All we can say for sure is they were intending to freak out forest goers, and they definitely succeeded. While trees with eyes may not actually exist, it turns out that trees with toes do. What you're seeing here is something known as Xylaria polymorpha. Mercifully, it's not actually human appendages, but a type of fungus that grows at the base of rotting trees, often referred to as dead man's fingers due to its resemblance to human digits. Believe me though, if I saw these pieces of foot fungus poking out from under a log, I wouldn't be sticking around to make sure they're not human. But on the topic of human bodily bits found growing in the woods, take a look at this tree found in Ireland that is mysteriously adorned with, by my count, 26 prosthetic ears. Now, while these little ears again look quite a bit like some kind of mutant fungus, they're actually not a natural offering of the forest at all. These were produced by artist David Tully, and while the exact intended meaning of the art piece is up to you guys to decide in the comments below, as far as I'm concerned, the tree is always listening. So don't spill your secrets anywhere near it. Pretty eerie, huh? Though perhaps the most peculiar cases of trees being decorated are found at the Orangeville Shoe Forest in Canada, which, as you might imagine, is a forest filled with shoes. Why? Well, no one quite knows why, though it all began sometime in the 70s when a single pair of jazz shoes were anonymously nailed to a roadside tree. To this day, no one knows who the jazz shoes belonged to or why they were left there, though we can assume anyone who owns a pair of jazz shoes is all about theatrics, so in that regard, it makes sense. Nevertheless, strangers now come from far and wide to adorn the trees with their favorite footwear offerings, adding to the slightly creepy, booming vegetation of scuffed-up kicks. The stench of this forest, I can only imagine, is the truly terrifying part. Still, there are worse things than old sneakers to be found nailed to trees. I mean, when one Redditor's friends moved into their new home, they were warmly welcomed by 3 dead crows nailed to the trees in their backyard. That's pretty much as unnerving as it gets. So, what kind of sick, twisted human, or perhaps non-human, might do this? Well, after doing some research, I found that farmers and landowners might sometimes do this to scare other crows away from damaging their crops. Crows reportedly tend to permanently avoid such locations as they perceive the obvious danger. And honestly, who can blame them? That'd be enough to scare me off, and I'm only half crow. No, it's no secret that being in the woods, or around trees generally, is scariest during thunderstorms. Being extremely tall and full of moisture, trees offer a path of least resistance for lightning and often get struck. While this is scary though, lightning can chip off large chunks of bark, revealing even more unnerving things lurking below. Take a look at this, for example, revealed after the violence of a lightning strike. Looks just like Mom's spaghetti. What you're looking at here is the inside of a tree burl, which is kind of like a tree tumor, a deformity in the tree's fibers that causes this unusual grain texture. Burl is actually quite a desirable type of wood among woodworkers, but what's not desirable is standing next to a highly dangerous, semi-collapsed tree like this to collect it. Timber! Staying in the spirit of storm-damaged trees, check this next one out. Up until 2011, the UK's tallest tree stood alongside Lake Vyrnwy, with the fir standing at a staggering 209 feet tall. However, after being damaged in the storm, the tree had to be cut down. It was then that artist Simon O'Rourke carved this incredible 7-foot-tall hand out of the tree with a chainsaw. And although there's something a little creepy about it, and encountering it in the dead of night without knowing the context might cause a mild to moderate mental breakdown, it's undeniably a thing of beauty. Let's put our giant tree hands together for Simon O'Rourke. And that concludes our creepy forest adventure. Let me know down in the comments or via email at stories@beamaze.com if you've ever experienced anything terrifying in the woods for a chance to be featured in the next episode. Catch you in the next one.